Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Future of Sales Excellence with SAP and VASS webinar. I'm Jody Simmons, Head of Go-to-Market for VASS. Thank you for spending your time with us today. This is the second in a series. Our first one, if you remember, was focused on the future of CRM. And in this one and all subsequent sessions, we'll dive deeper into the specific areas of sales, service, technical architecture, and various topics. So you can find a recording of the first session already on our VASS YouTube channel if you weren't able to attend the first one. And then we'll continue to post these additional sessions there as well. So this one will be updated probably tomorrow, and we will send out an email with the link so that you can access it easily. So with that housekeeping done, I'd like to start by introducing our esteemed panelists. First, we have Surajit Ghosh, also known as SG. He's the Chief Expert, SAP Solution CX Advisory Team, and he's also an SAP AI Black Belt. Next, we have Brian Kaiser, Principal Solution Architect for SAP, and also Amit Venugopal, Managing Director and CRO of VASS US and Canada. So welcome to everyone on the call today, and welcome to our esteemed panelists. We have a lot of great expertise that we're going to, showcase to you today, and we really look forward to being able to, share this with you today. As you all know, the title of this webinar is The Future of Sales Excellence, and we can't talk about the future without leaning into how AI is impacting both the short term and the long term for sales processes today. So to set the stage, let's start with a brief kind of informal discussion about how AI can influence sales teams and tools. So let's start with SG. What did the role of a sales rep look like before AI, and how do we foresee that this will change in the future?
All right, thanks, Jody, and hi everyone. Welcome to this wonderful webinar. So I would say 20 odd years ago, when the journey of a classical sales process started with sales and distribution, a salesperson was predominantly engaging with the customers to take orders and process orders and fulfill orders. And that was the origin of the SD module in ERP and so on. Over a period of time, I think then came the world of CRM. So you saw a lot of focus around analytics and automation and task management and workflows and trying to help the sales rep in the journey of engaging with their customers. But the new world, let's say 3-4 years ago, came the big advent of data science, right? Like I've been a data scientist myself for many years, and we saw a lot of aspects of machine learning being used. So things around, let's say, lead scoring and opportunity scoring and account scoring. So ways of an even classification of an opportunity into high risk, low risk, medium risk. So classical machine learning aspects were starting to be used by various sales reps in the CRM solutions. And then came the advent of Gen AI. So now you have tons of use cases like account summary and email summary, and how can you actually nurture an opportunity, or what kind of content you can provide. So creative content or assimilating content or quickly figuring out a summary of a particular case or an opportunity and so on. But I think if you take a step back and look at the evolution now and look at it from a futuristic perspective, I play the role of an AI thought leader. I work with a lot of startups. I'm helping our customers go through a lot of transformation. And in SAP, we've done significant investment in the entire aspect of generative AI, hub and AI agents. What we see is all of this coming together in the form of data and AI. So on one hand, you have business process data, so leads, opportunities, quotes, inventory, supply chain, the entire data around lead to cash as a process. And how then can you use the various technologies relevant to AI, let's say AI conversational engagements, AI related to predictive forecasting, AI related to machine learning and analytics, coming together in the form of seamless user experience. And you see that later on in the webinar today in the aspects of various demos. But for me personally, it's an exciting moment where we are seeing accumulation of all of these innovations coming together and bearing fruit.
Thank you, SG. So I'm going to jump over to Brian. So now that we know the direction that sales is going because of everything that SG just said, What is SAP specifically doing now, and what is the roadmap for embedding meaningful AI into the sales solutions for SAP?
Yeah, it's a good question, Jody. Thank you. So, SAP is no stranger to artificial intelligence and machine learning. As a matter of fact, SAP has been kind of pioneering that for many, many years. In the advent of generative AI, we saw an opportunity to invest heavily in our solutions and kind of what we're thinking. And so, when you start to think about that, what we wanted to provide is artificial intelligence that wasn't just that to help with your inbox, for example. We really wanted to provide specific use cases grounded with SAP data. And so what SAP started to do was we started to build in embedded artificial intelligence around things like summarizations of account synopsises, or we needed to do machine learning around the scores of an opportunity from a sales perspective or a lead from a sales perspective. But things like that were really good, but we wanted to improve upon that too. So when we start to look at things from even a service perspective as well, we want to do things like case summarization, but now there's an opportunity to start to bring in other sets of information. Since SAP has an ecosystem that touches not only customer experience but also the back end data, we want to be able to look into that type of information too. So where we're going with this is not just stopping at the customer experience from a front end sales and service point of view, but we want to be able to reach into the back end data. So for example, if you have a customer who has several late orders, for example, we need to bring that information to the forefront, right? Or if you have a customer who goes on a billing block, that's S4 type of information. We need to have generative AI help alert that salesperson in the moment and help kind of bring that full spectrum of the customer to the forefront, because we found that, having information from a CRM perspective is good. But really, where we provide the most value, right, is if we go with a full suite approach, you have to have generative AI that's able to look into every different set of facet of information on that customer, whether it's CX, whether it's S4 data that we're looking into, or what have you. So that's really where we're taking this, is not just stopping generative AI from a CRM point of view, but we want to be able to understand the context of what is trying to happen from a customer point of view, but then also be able to make recommendations too. So summarizations are really table stakes from a generative AI point of view. So we want to be able to understand the context of what is going on with the customer, right, from a generative perspective, but also be able to make recommendations. Like, for example, if a customer is having an issue, if we have generative AI that understands the back-end processes of order to cash for this customer, for example, we want to be able to recommend things like credits, right? So that's really where we want to take generative AI, is to help that salesperson or even that service agent in the moment to understand the full context of the customer, but make proper recommendations to them as well.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, and I'd love to round it out with you, Amit, and really understand from you, in a complex B2B sales process, what other extensions do you recommend customers use alongside the standard SAP CRM solution that we've been talking about?
Thanks, Jody. We will get into a demo of Sales Cloud and all of the cool stuff that SAP is doing with Gen AI embedded, and Brian and SG is going to walk us through that. But having said that, if you look at the context historically of SAP CRM solutions, it was an on-prem solution for many, many years. And in the on-prem world, everything was built in one database, in one solution. Did it perform well and really do well in all of the different capabilities that it had? Possibly for some customers, but the moment you started getting into more complex sales cycles, more complex product portfolios, make to order, engineer to order, those kinds of scenarios, then the CRM solution would fall short. So what we see today is like a composable CX world, right? So you have the Sales Cloud solution that is obviously very important for your pipeline management, for your opportunities, nurturing your customers and leads and things like that. And then you have to add on solutions such as SAP CPQ. If you are in that world of complex products and you have engineer to order or make to order, or configure to order, and you need to be able to quickly put together as a salesperson a very complex quote. In the past, SAP would do that with variant configuration in ERP, but variant configuration was never I wouldn't say never. It's a tough tool to use for a salesperson, right? Unless the salesperson is really super technical and knows, the ins and outs of all the different options. With a CPQ solution, you have the ability to make it easier for a salesperson to configure a complex product BOM, right, or bill of material. And that can be done through guided selling. It can be done now with Gen AI, with intelligent recommendations on what products should be put together to to meet the customer's business requirements in terms of what they want to purchase from your company. So CPQ is one of those products that are increasingly important, kind of in this composable world. Again, depending on the type of industry you're on and type of sales process, you may or may not need like a solution like CPQ. There are other cool products in the portfolio, either created through partner solutions like MediaFly, or they could be, you would need just to give your salespeople the extensibility into your S4HANA system. So as Brian mentioned, looking up data, customer 360 view, including data that's in your CRM and outside of your CRM as well, but also being able to execute, your quote to order process, being able to convert a quote into an order or to convert an opportunity into a quote into an order. So there's various end-to-end processes in kind of that lead to cash scenario, which involves more than one system.
Okay. Thank you, Amit. Thank you all. That was a great discussion. And I think now it's time for us to get a little bit more visual and dive into some of the features and benefits that we just touched on. So Amit, if you want to bring us into the presentation.
Can you see my presentation now, Judy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for that interesting roundtable to kick us off here. Just to summarize a little bit about SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, they're built on the same stack, and this is a bit of a repeat from the last webinar. Kind of setting the stage on what Sales and Service Cloud really is. It's built on a new platform per se, right? So you'll hear in the SAP world V1 and V2. So folks that are on the phone today understand that V2 or version 2 of Sales and Service Cloud is built on a new platform that's really powered by hyperscalers. It's intelligent by default, so there's a lot of intelligent scenarios that are embedded into the solution. It's future-proof, it's supported across multiple global data centers, and uses Kubernetes. So you can have, a solution deployed in China for, the purposes of, for example, keeping data resident in China versus, something in Europe or something in North America. So it's really, you can take it around the world. The user experience is definitely, being built grounds up to be extremely, user friendly, and it has mobile applications that are, out of the box in terms of all the business processes that you can execute, both from any kind of device form factor. And then it's connected. It's an API first solution. So everything is API first. It was built grounds up from, an API first architecture, and it's also fully connected into back office solutions like SAP S4HANA. So that's kind of, it's cloud first, cloud native, and software as a service solution built grounds up from SAP. In terms of what SAP Sales Cloud does, and this is just a snapshot of all the different things it does, and this keeps evolving, right? Because SAP releases versions of Sales Cloud. I think right now even on a monthly basis. It used to be quarterly. Correct me if I'm wrong, SG or Brian. It's SAP's increased the speed at which they're bringing their innovations to market. But yeah, there's productivity, there's intelligent insights across Sales Cloud. It's a modern UI. It's really fast, and you'll see that in the demos that both SG and Brian will give us here shortly. It has workspaces for digital selling and managing of call lists. So if you're depending on what type of organization you are, whether you're on a inside sales team that needs to call out, then you have a sophisticated selling mechanism here that allows you to call out to your various call lists and customers. It has various playbooks for guided selling, forecast and pipeline management. Of course, I mean that's just table stakes through territory management. Being able to see how your territories are performing and what is really your forecast saying it's going to look like over the next coming quarters. It has collaboration with Microsoft Teams inbuilt, so you can pop out into a Teams conference call or into a Teams room to collaborate with people that are on your opportunity. It's extensible, so there's a lot of in-app extensibility, and we'll touch upon all of the various ways to enhance the solution. And of course, it's integrated, right? So it's totally integrated with SAP S/4HANA, but it also has a framework for integration with any application, right? You can do mashup-based integration, API-based integration, and various ways to kind of integrate the solution with third-party solutions. And as I said, it has a native mobile experience. So Android and Apple, of course, fully supported. And there's widgets on the mobile application as well that can be used, to do various functions. What's important is, the solution is to be seen as one with S/4HANA, right? So it's really a connected selling solution, from customer acquisition, which is all of your processes around lead and opportunity management, to sales operations, which typically resides in your backend ERP system, in this case, SAP S/4HANA. Things like contract management, order management, your CPQ processes, pricing, logistics remains in your SAP S/4HANA. And then when you do, post-sales processes of customer service, whether it is, delivery tracking and, order status management, or whether it's actual, service scenarios, complaints, cases, field service, things like that. That's all what we call as customer success and post-sales. So it's really a connected solution across the entire enterprise, with, interfaces that have been seamlessly built and delivered by SAP. And last but not the least, we'll get into a little bit of this as well in the upcoming demo, is about all of the business AI capabilities that are already available in kind of that, lead to cash scenario, right? So there's intelligence that's embedded into the solution. Some of these are GA already, as in available if you were to go on Sales Cloud today or start using it. Some of these are already available to you. Some of them are in the roadmap. That's in a different color here. The one that is in black is in the roadmap and will be, coming in the upcoming releases. So SAP is constantly adding, various intelligent scenarios into both Sales Cloud and, of course, in the back office S/4HANA solution as well. But again, look at it as one solution for sales, right? From lead management, campaign management, opportunity management, to creating complex codes, and then to completing your business process in your ERP solution, taking it to sales order, delivery, execution, production, and into cash. And then when you talk about retention, white space analysis, and what do we do more on expanding our business with customers, then that is again where intelligence comes in to see what more could we sell at a particular customer, depending on historical data and things like that. So that's kind of all that's available, in Sales Cloud, with a constantly evolving roadmap. All right, that's a quick summary of what SAP Sales Cloud is. And now I'm going to stop sharing and ask Brian to come in and give us a quick overview of the product as well.
All right. Thank you, Amit. So guys, I wanted to take you through a brief walkthrough of SAP Sales Cloud, and I'm going to just jump right into the product. No slides whatsoever needed, I don't think. But I think Amit did a great job of highlighting kind of a lot that's contained within the sales tool. And I'm not going to have enough time to really do a full demo justice. I want to hit a lot of the highlights, but I wanted to get across a couple of points. There's a whole reason behind why we did what we did in terms of building this type of tool. And my favorite quote kind of goes back to Benjamin Franklin, and he said that lost time is never found again. And I think that could never be more true when you think about that for a salesperson. A salesperson's time is everything, right? And so if we can put back time in that salesperson's day, that's more time that they could actually spend in front of their customers selling. Heck, that's more time that they could be in front of their family, right? Because last thing we want anybody to do is to have to update their CRM, on a Friday night or a Saturday night before, a forecast call. So what you want to have a good CRM be able to do is be able to update it wherever you're at. And that's the whole reason we did things like Microsoft Teams integration. We did native, we have native Android and iOS solutions there too. We want to go to where the customers are already working to help them be more efficient with what they're already doing, to put them in front of the customer more. So with that said, I'm just going to walk through here and just show a couple of different things. So first off, I'm going to go into this global search feature. Now I can pull up really anything I wanted to. We're going to talk a little bit about Cbont. They're going to be our kind of overall account. And you'll notice once I type in Cbont, I didn't have to click enter. I didn't have to wait for a page to refresh or anything like that. But this gives me all of the items that are touching Cbont. And this is part of that microservices architecture that's behind the scenes. When you have something as nimble as this solution, it's built on those microservices, which means it's easy to work with, right? Again, we want to give time back to everybody, even developers, for example, who need to build things on the back end. From our perspective, we want their experience to be that simple as well. But it gives me a little sneak preview of all of the information for this account. But if I want to drill into it, I can see this in a little bit more depth. So I get the header level detail over here. And over here in the sort of, we'll call this the meat of the account page, I've got all of these key metrics, and these are different points right here. So like if I expand this a little bit, I can see contracts, right? This is all driven from S4 data. So we have out of the box native integrations into SAP S4. So for example, if I wanted to see the credit limit usage, if I wanted to click into this data, I can get more type of information as far as exposure, usage. I can look at the actual contracts. Again, depending upon your sales reps access, right? You can allow them to drill into that actual contract and pull up an S4 screen, right? But that's the whole point, is you should be able to have that drill through capability right into S4. But as we mentioned, we're talking a little bit more about those native connections from a generative AI point of view. So if I click on account synopsis as a salesperson, if this is a new account, or we even have this capability from a lead perspective, I may need to see some information around this account, their overview, current challenges, competitive landscapes. This is helping give me, right, the ability to have this information right here in front of my face. So what am I not doing? I'm not having to go look at Hoover's, for example, and figure out all of this information. If you have a connection to Hoover's, that's great, but we could probably help you by bringing that data from a generative perspective right here for that sales rep, right? So you're not having to go to separate different places. What you also can do, again, if we're trying to get a broader S4 type of view for this customer, I can see this S4 customer 360 view right down below. So I can see things like recently created S4 quotations, right? I can see different types of business documents if I needed to. If I needed to get a bigger view of this is basically S4 inside of SAP Sales Cloud. So having that native connection is vital and important. So that's a little bit about the account. Let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about what we call guided selling. Let's have that opportunity view from a sales rep perspective. And for anyone who has used SAP C4C in the past, this is going to be a little bit new, right? But the idea is that I don't want to have a simple list view, right? We give you that ability if you want it, right? But really where we see our customers wanting the ability to see is kind of based on this opportunity type, right? You can have different types of opportunities coming in, but I may need to kind of move or work with a particular opportunity and move it from one stage, let's say qualify opportunity, to develop value proposition. And what I want to be able to do is I simply want to drag it and drop it, for example, right? If I need to move that opportunity forward. So that's the whole point, is that we want to be able to allow that salesperson to interact with their data very simply and very easily. What you'll also notice if I drill into a particular opportunity is I've got the header detail over here. So that's the similar type of look and feel that we have, but I've got this header level detail over here. I also have a machine learning score. So this is actually looking at different types of level of efforts that we've had within this opportunity. How many times have you called them? How long has it been within a particular sales stage, right? It's giving me this full view to help give me an unbiased understanding of what is the propensity for this opportunity to close. So this is an out of the box machine learning score that's helping me understand what's going on here. I can even see that detail if I scroll down a little bit. But on the right-hand side, these are all of those respective sales stages, right, that I can work through. And this can be set up by the administration, but as you can see, as I go through different stages, it has different recommendations down below. And it's both machine learning recommendations as well as what we call a playbook recommendation. So you as an administration can set up different types of tasks or fields that they might need to update based upon where a particular deal is within its relative life cycle or relative stage. And that's important because what you want to create as a sales management or sales operations staff is a certain amount of standardization, moving, an opportunity through its relative process. So why does that help? Why is that important? Because someone who was hired at your respective organizations 2 weeks ago can follow the exact same sales process as someone who's been here for 2 years, for example. So that's what we're trying to do, is create a certain amount of, ease of use within the process of sales as well. Now, what I wanted to do to provide a quick example, because I promised I wouldn't spend a ton of time. I know I'm already talking too much as it is I'm going to find a quick opportunity that I built out just for this demo. So this is called BK Project. The reason I'm pulling this up is I wanted to display a couple of elements of integration. So we have integrations to different parts of SAP, but what I did was we have an opportunity type that we built into this demo that it's called integration with opportunity to customer projects. So I work with a lot of customers who are project-based, and so what they want to be able to do is leverage that SAP, the sales side, and be able to leverage SAP customer projects. And so all I did was I created this opportunity and I put it in process, and it was able to automatically leverage the name of this opportunity and create this as a customer project on the back end without me going into S4 whatsoever. And so just to kind of prove that out, if I open up the opportunity detail and I scroll down just a little bit, it gives me a link right here, right? And that link is directly going to pull up that S4 project. But the beauty is I don't have to click on that link. If you'll notice, I have a lot of different tabs over here on the right. If I open up where it says customer project, it's already done that process for us. So I can see here's our project. If I want to see it in a little bit more depth, boom, there it is. Right. So, and now I can go through its respective workflows in SAP customer projects, and it's correlated back to this opportunity. So that's an important point that I just wanted to make as far as those out of the box native integration points there. Now, moving forward just a little bit, I know I got a few more minutes here. I just want to talk about one other integration. Is I also, to save us a little bit of time, I created a quick sales quote, right? And you can see on this project flow or this document flow down below that I've got the opportunity, and it also shows me the other items, the downstream items that were created. Here's that BK project, right? So I could also click into this to look at the sales quote and open it up. If I do so, what you'll notice is that right here, the net value is 0. If I scroll down a little bit, right, you can see I've got some different products here that are tied. And let me actually, I'm going to delete these guys just to give us a little bit more, real life capabilities. So bear with me, delete that. So I've got these items out here, but what I don't have is I don't have pricing for them, right? So what I can do is I can go ahead and simulate pricing. So we were able to bring in pricing for a specific customer for a specific opportunity, and even down to the product for a customer. And so now you can see that went from a net value of 0 to a net value of 2,900, right? So I was able to pull in that customer pricing for those particular products here. And now I can go ahead and place that order. And I'll just to make this a little bit cleaner, I'll remove that other one that I didn't want to price. There we go. So I got that 33i. And now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and place that order. So we'll refresh this screen real quick. Yep. And I'll actually come back into this. Bear with me real fast. All right. So if I open that quote back up, now I've got pricing, and I can go ahead and create that order. And it looks like I might have messed something up on my side. But yeah, to go ahead and place that order, you go ahead and click on that plus icon. But while I've got the time, one other thing that I wanted to show is the ability to leverage AI within your forecast. So this is a demonstration environment. So forgive the amounts and all this other information here. But you'll notice that all of the different amounts are stratified across this this timeline. So the timeline is relative to each deal's close date. So each circle represents an opportunity, and the color goes back to that machine learning score, right? And the size of the circle is direct correlation with the size of the opportunity. If you wanted to kind of drill in on a subset of opportunities, it allows you to do that and gives me a sort of line by line view down below. If I want to kind of go back, I can do so as well. And I can see this from a bubble view, but I can also see this as a graphical chart view as well, and kind of see different opportunities and how they're forecast. But the last but not least, I can also see my forecast. So if I wanted to kind of see where I'm at relative to the overall forecast, I can kind of get a more detailed view down below, toggle in or out opportunities as I need to. So if this opportunity does not belong in my pipeline or forecast, I can just toggle it out. Now, if I'm ready to submit my forecast, I can go ahead and hit submit, And this is also providing me the ability to amend things, but I get a machine learning sort of predictive forecast right here down below. So again, going back to trying to save that salesperson time and effort on even being able to forecast. And one final piece that I wanted to demonstrate for you all is being able to showcase the mobile aspect, right? So I'm just going to pop up my mobile device very quickly. Looks like I got signed out, but here it goes. So a couple things here, right? So this is a native iOS application. What it's able to do is kind of take advantage of the app itself. So things like Face ID, being able to simply talk to your phone to update things like notes. You can do that very quickly and easily. But what I'll do is I'll just kind of highlight a couple of areas here. So you can see I've got upcoming activities. We have that integration with Microsoft Teams, so I could even launch a Teams meeting straight from my phone if I needed to. I can drill in to a particular calendar subset of calendar information. So if I kind of go in here and you can see I'm looking at a map. You can choose how you want to look at this, whether it's a regular day agenda view or a map view. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I want to bring in nearby accounts here too. And I share this tenant with a global team, which is why you'll see sort of a lot of different accounts that are displayed here. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. We'll actually tap on this one account over here. You can see it's Rising Tall Construction. There was already a meeting there this morning at 6:30. But if I tap on this, what I want to be able to do is do a quick create. So if I want to say, yep, I'm going to drive over there and meet with them a little bit later today, I'm going to go ahead and create a quick appointment here. So I can just say, quick, we'll say VASS appointment, right? So we've got that in there. And then if I want to put that at 12 p.m. today, I can definitely do that. Everything else looks good. And from here, I'll just hit save, right? And maybe I'll save and open it too. So within a few seconds, I was able to look at the account that's nearby. If I wanted to navigate, right, I can go ahead and click navigate and pull up either Google Maps or Apple Maps to drive over there, right? But what the tool is also doing is it's providing me a quick timeline of the account. What has happened from an overarching account perspective, right? So I can see all of the different types of interactions that have happened. I can also see other types of insights. So any type of connected appointments or what types of relationships that we've had. It's another thing I, again, haven't had a lot of time to talk about, but this is going to showcase what we call relationship intelligence, which is going to help showcase different types of emails that you've traded and meetings that you've had with that particular account to showcase what type of relationship you have. And then finally, notes, right? So if I wanted to, see or update any notes, I can quickly do so by simply talking to my phone. So I don't want to type here. I just want to tap and again, take advantage of the iOS native app down in the lower right-hand corner. So I'll say, we're meeting to talk a little bit more about pricing and how we are going to move forward, period. So it's that easy to update my notes and move forward with that, right? So there it is. I can even have it read back to me. But again, that's what we're trying to do, is create an environment where it's easy to update your information on the fly, trying to help that salesperson save time in their day by giving them the tools to where they already are, right? They're already using their phone. They're already using things like Teams. We want to make that experience of leveraging a CRM tool such as SAP Sales Cloud that much more easy. And we want to make their job easier by giving those tools to them at their fingertips. So with that said, I think that's all the time I have, but I appreciate it. And I think I'll pass it back to SG.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Let me share my screen. It's always a joy to follow Brian because I always get to learn something new every time. So thank you, Brian. So I would say in the last couple of decades, so much has happened in the world of evolution of technology that if you ask me personally, one of the stalwart figures of the platform is what Sales and Service Cloud version 2 can do for you. And where I'm coming from is historically, you would want to build everything inside the application and customize the heck out of it in a classical on-premise mindset. In the world of cloud, you're starting to get into a microservice composable architecture and bring in best of all the worlds, but infuse that in context to business process and data. As an example, let's start with integration. So we had Brian talk about, and you saw that in the demo of integration. Now, what we have done is with SAP backend, so let's say, for example, you have S4, and you have pre-packaged integration with all the various aspects of that, let's say quotes and orders as well as business partner, and you're able to actually create follow-up quotes and sales orders and so on. All of this information is there in the business accelerator hub, but what happens is basically you are able to infuse that integration content easily and accelerate your deployments and activation. So here is an example where we have used our integration functionality inside business technology platform and embraced that very easily with Sales Cloud version 2. The next aspect is let's get into analytics. So what you saw wonderfully in the demo was all the native integration as well as the native analytics. So for example, you saw Brian demo the pipeline manager and the forecast flow. Similarly, what we've also done is we have integrated our SAP Analytics Cloud with SAC. So, for example, if you have SAC and you're able to inbuild a large part of your data, then you're able to build those integrations with SAP Analytics Cloud and work with those analytics stories. Now, what can be done though on top of that is, for example, we are starting to see the innovation when it comes to the world of generative AI. So let's say you are a salesperson and you are having your Sales Cloud and your S4 data connected to SAP Analytics Cloud, and you want to actually just say, okay, let's start this demo from scratch. So let's say you say, show me orders, right? And you will get to see a conversation way of interacting with the data and saying, okay, this is my order value. Now let's say you say, show me order value by product, and you're starting to have this curious mindset of a salesperson or a sales. I've been in sales before. This is power for me because I am able to quickly ask questions, or even my manager can ask these questions, or in an account planner, and then you can start looking at changing it. So let's say I want to change this bar graph to a pie chart, and I want to see how that looks like. Or you might want to do exploratory analytics. So let's say you say my product inversions and you want to filter it by last year. And that's the evolution now. That's the future of sales, where think about all the trainings you had to do to teaching your sales reps how to use analytics platform and how to actually learn the tools, what is their prepackaged. But imagine a connected data platform with your sales cloud data, with your inventory data, with your S4 data, all blended here. And you're able to infuse this in the moment of experience and having these kinds of conversations with the sales rep. So that's the new gen of analytics with heterogeneous data infused with AI. Next is let's get into the context of extensibility. Now, this is where it gets really powerful. So let's say uh, you are an admin and you have this guided selling app. And now from your, let's say you want to start working on the UX and you want to start designing the UX. So you can go ahead and start the adaptation mode. And this is where you can start going ahead and changing, adding fields, deleting fields from the UX itself, renaming stuff, and so on. So that's one aspect of the UX design, right? The next is, for example, let's say you want to actually get into the in-app extensibility. So this, by the way, can be a 4 hour session, right? So happy to do deeper dives later on. But for example, the mashup which you saw of projects, you can start authoring those mashups here and start working with those mashups and start trying to get the embedded experience of various UX layers. The other approach is, let's say you want to actually create an entire field from scratch. So let's say you have the opportunity tab, and in there you want to go ahead and start creating a custom field from scratch. Or here is where it gets even more fascinating. There are two concepts in this solution. One is called validations, one is called determinations. So imagine 30, 40 years of your experience as a sales manager, and you want to start embedding that as validation. So let's say in this case, I've created one where if the opportunity value is more than 500K, then show a warning, or create an alert or create a notification, or let's say a contract is up for renewal or an opportunity is stalled and so on. So those are what we call as warnings or validations. But there is the other thing called determination. So let's say this is where, for example, you are and this is really valuable because it's very simple if then else as an admin user, but depending on various scenarios, you can go ahead and automatically populate a particular field. So the person doesn't have to manually go and update the fields and so on. There are two ways of creating each of them. So, for example, you can go ahead and start creating these as forms, as I showed you, or you can use a simple coding platform here itself and drag and drop and start creating your code. Now, this is what I meant here by in-app adaptation and extensibility. Having said that, you would come across scenarios where you might want to create a custom solution outside Sales Cloud. In SAP, we call it keeping the core clean. So the same methodology is relevant for SAP Sales Cloud, same methodology is relevant for SAP S for public cloud, and so on, where we are encouraging people to start using SAP Build. As an example, let's take you through a quick demo. So let's say I'm showing you an end user experience first. So let's say there is an end user where you want to actually go ahead and look at a particular application, and you want to start actually going ahead and start doing some build here. So when we say build, what we mean is using a platform like this to go ahead and start creating your completely new application from scratch and trying to create UX layers, trying to create workflows, and trying to go ahead and start working with them. So in this case, for example, let's say there is an order app, and you can start actually going ahead and creating those kinds of order apps very easily using SAP Build. The other aspects is, for example, let's say once you design that, this can be published as an API. This can be published as a UX widget where you can start populating that. And then, for example, you also get into the world of working with various other tools. So let's say you can go through a process of building an application from scratch. And I'll actually come back to this with a video demo in a couple of minutes, but look at this process. So here I'm trying to create a completely new application from scratch. Let's say I'm trying to do a web mobile application. And once you're able to do that, you can then start creating a new app from scratch and drag and drop a particular widget and start creating those apps yourself. Not only that, you can start getting into very complex workflows. So think about a process where you're capturing the inventory from S4, you're capturing the opportunity and the code data from Sales Cloud. And let's say you have your maintenance plans and contracts in a third-party system, and you want to create a cross-application workflow, a cross-application app. And once you have that app, if you remember the demo which Brian showed you, embed that UX layer as an iframe or a widget inside Sales Cloud. Now, the other very interesting thing which we are getting into the world is the last side of it, which is the Gen AI aspect of it. So this year in TechEd, we launched something really powerful, which is the world of using Gen AI to actually go ahead and start creating an application from scratch. So let's say what's happening here is I remember I showed you the demo where I was building an application. So let's say you now have enabled SAP Joule, which is basically our co-pilot across an entire board, and you want to create a customer loyalty kind of an application. I'll take a pause here. If you see what's happening here, is you're just using prompts, right? So you're saying create an app for a customer loyalty program where purchase points represent certain things, and this is the workflow, and this is the process. And once you do that, it actually generates the entire data model and services and the UX based on the prompt. It takes a lot for me to get surprised when I actually saw this as a POC, many months back. I literally was amazed at the power of what Gen AI can do. Like we have our developers where they would take probably 4 or 5 days to create an application like this, and now it's just happening in few hours. Not just UX, we're looking at data models, application logic, workflows, custom data to do the testing, and sky is the limit. So essentially, we are living in a world where you have these kinds of aspects. So just to summarize, uh, all of this is possible because of the platform, right? So this is what Amit spoke about earlier. The fact that it's a microservice-driven architecture, we are able to actually bring in our own innovations, like pretty much every month into the product. But not only that, we are allowing you that extensibility framework where not only our developers, but you as a customer or even partners like VASS can actually start creating their own content and push that into the application and infuse that with wonderful innovations. While you're doing that, as I said, it will all depend on the use cases, but you have options where you can build a low code, no code. You can use Gen AI to generate applications. You can use our cloud application studio to completely build a new functionality which doesn't exist, but actually push that as an embedded seamless experience. Because when you saw Brian's demo, you were not realizing which app or which UX is coming from S4 or what is coming from SSE. The sales user doesn't care, but as an admin user, it makes your life a lot easier and pleasant. The fact that you have such a powerful platform, you're able to do a lot of in-app stuff, side by side extensibility as build a completely new something new from scratch. So just wanted to actually lay this foundation that as a technologist, it gives us a lot of power as an admin tool, as a power user, especially even now with the advent of AI, even for the admin tools as well as integration flows and so on. With that, I'd like to hand it over back to Jody.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
thank
Amit,
you,
we're coming
SG.
over to you, right?
Yes, we are. Just
Thank you.
to quickly conclude on the architecture. Thanks for that excellent demos, Brian and SG. If you look at, what is a sales architecture looking like in the world that we live in today with SAP Sales Cloud, with CPQ, with S/4HANA, or ECC for that matter, customers still are kind of going through that journey of moving from their ECC platform to S4. As I mentioned, it's like a composable architecture at the moment where you have Sales Cloud for certain portions of your business process, and then you have this optional, section of using SAP CPQ if you have, more complex selling needs and quoting needs. And then you could obviously complete your process on the S4 side. So when I say this is composable, you do not need CPQ, right? As you saw from Brian's demo, there is a quote object already available in Sales Cloud. And if you have simple quoting, simple products, where it's just, it's not configurable and it's not, complex to kind of put together a quote together, then you could absolutely use just SAP Sales Cloud and convert that, quote into an order in S4 without needing to use the SAP CPQ solution. And where CPQ comes into place is when you have a more complex quoting need, and you would like, other partners, third parties like distributors, dealers, things like that to come in and also collaborate on quotes. Then CPQ provides you with that platform to be able to do that. From an end-to-end process perspective, I won't go into all of these different boxes here, but obviously there's a lot of functionality that you've just seen in Sales Cloud. We did not go into CPQ, but we will get into a CPQ demo in an upcoming webinar where we can drill into details of, the differentiators that CPQ has and when to use CPQ and when not to. We'll do that in a subsequent demo. And then of course S/4HANA with all of your, back office processes. Functional overview S/4HANA sales. So, customers that are going to this, journey of moving from ECC to S4, there's clearly a lot of cool capabilities in S4. You're already very familiar with sales and distribution module in ECC that has been taken to kind of the next generation inside of S4 with lots of usability enhancements, user interface enhancements, embedded AI, embedded analytics, and everything coming together for your sales and distribution module in one place, in one cockpit. CPQ, again, just we'll leave these slides away for anyone who's interested in reading this in more detail. But again, this is just kind of an overview of all the different CPQ solutions that are CPQ functionality that's out there that you could leverage if you have the need to use a more sophisticated CPQ solution.
Amit, also a
Yes.
call out on the CPQ, right? I think one architecturally, what we're also seeing is CPQ being leveraged when a lot of our I know this webinar is for Sales Cloud, but from a go-to-market design perspective, a lot of our customers are also opening up their commerce platforms where the dealers and the distributors and the key accounts can directly buy or at least do an RFQ process, right, in the commerce platform. So a lot of time what we are seeing is our customers use CPQ as a middle platform where they can open and expose the VC models from ERP in the backend, or even actually create those kinds of complex pricings and processes. And then the user experience then can be infused either in Sales Cloud, in a classical opportunity management process, or even a direct commerce B2B portal or a channel partner kind of an engagement model. So I'm glad you brought this up because CPQ in very complex manufacturing kind of processes and so on does play a big role.
Yeah, absolutely, SG. Thank you. One of our customers, in fact, is they're not doing the commerce route. They actually have 95% of the business is through dealerships, and they're having their dealers log in directly into Sales Cloud and CPQ as third-party employees, right, or extended sales team of the organization. They log in directly into Sales Cloud and CPQ to process and to essentially perform tasks that inside sales would be doing themselves, right? So there are various ways to kind of architect this, and some people allow their third parties to log in directly into the solutions. Others use a portal like SAP Commerce as well to facilitate that interaction. So absolutely, SG, thank you. Now just kind of talking a little bit about customers who may be on a CRM on-premise solution still and are looking to move to SAP solutions in the cloud. Just this is a very super high level, saying, okay, if you are using SAP CRM for sales and you have, rolled out either a Fiori-based mobile app or, and one of a custom mobile app, and a lot of customers have built custom mobile apps on the CRM platform, and you're on ECC, then, to transform into the cloud, you are looking at, moving to SAP CPQ and SAP Sales Cloud. CPQ again, based on the actual need, and then the mobile solutions that you just saw from Brian. And S/4HANA is obviously a journey that customers are taking, but you could have an interim state where you want to go to the cloud but still leverage your ECC functionality, and that is also possible. SAP supports both, integrations into ECC and S/4HANA. So there's a few ways of carving this out. In terms of the solution map, and you look at, what, again, this is a little bit more detail around business processes and objects and where does it reside. If you're in CRM sales and you're using all of this in CRM sales, where does this go into the future? This is kind of how it, it lays out over here. And if you look at the transactional data, this was more around processes. This is now object mapping at the transactional data level. If you look at all of the different things like opportunity leads, activities, for example, if you were using them in SAP CRM, where would this actually reside? Which objects would it map into SAP Sales Cloud or into S/4HANA Sales, or for that matter, into SAP CPQ? And same with master data, right? So master data, as well as a concept in SAP CRM, how does that translate into all of the different solutions? And again, you don't have to worry about the integration between sales, SAP S/4HANA Sales and SAP Sales Cloud, because that comes out of the box. The business partner, gets replicated into accounts and contacts, and employees get passed back and forth. So all of that comes, inbuilt in the solution in terms of the data replication to make sure everything's in sync. So when you look at transforming, there are multiple ways to do this. You can, do it in phases, as I mentioned, where you have, for example, you first continue to use SAP CRM for certain portions of your process, and you move certain, other portions into SAP Sales Cloud. So we have customers that are doing this in by process, right? So for example, to keep quoting still in SAP CRM, but then move, your opportunities, leads, and other processes into Sales Cloud. And as a second step, taking all the functions from CRM sales into Sales Cloud, and then decommissioning your sales CRM sales solution. It can also be done by regions, right? So you can have, besides functions and processes, you could also target certain rollouts by region and say, okay, you want to pilot this in a particular region. And then, the rest of the company remains on the old stack or kind of the solutions as it exists. And then you start doing rollouts before you can fully shut down your CRM solution. Various ways to do it. We have one customer that's just doing a, big bang go live, right? Just saying, okay, we're going to do it all in one shot because we're doing both S4 and CRM, replacement at the same time, or sorry, ECC and CRM replacement, and they want to do it in a big bang across the company instead of doing it in rollouts. Things to consider, there's various things, right? Like, how many enhancements do you have? The complexity of your on-prem CRM solution, especially your on-prem customer looking to move to the cloud. Consider these things. What are the different complexities you've built in? Because some customers have been using their CRM for, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, right? Depending on when they started their journey in the on-prem world. And then you look at the project strategy, right? So what pain points are you solving? Which user groups are the most important ones that we want to, target as part of this transformation? And you look at regions, like, should we pilot this in particular regions? Should we do this in waves? And are you looking at this project as a chance to modernize your business processes, to even change, some of your sales processes and adopt some of the new things that SAP provides out of the box, right? Like all the intelligence that comes with it, the reporting and analytics cloud. And last but not the least is, what is the organizational impact, right? So when you do a transformation like this, which groups are being affected by this, and how are you going to manage those business stakeholders and ensure that, as part of the project, you have laid out certain KPIs, certain things that you'd want to improve. How are you measuring those post go live, right? And making sure that, you're hitting those KPIs that you laid out for yourself as an organization as part of funding, such a transformation. So things to consider. And one of the things we do as a company, VASS, is we do an assessment, right? So if you're an on-prem customer or even a customer moving from some legacy platform into SAP Cloud, we would love to, understand your current state, design kind of that future conceptual state with you, what we call as the to-be environment. And of course, then we build and review, the recommendations, and we socialize this. We create what is called as key design decision documents, because there are a lot of decisions that were made in on-prem that you need to review and understand what you do with this in the future in cloud. And that's what we call as the KDD. And that results finally into an implementation roadmap, with a detailed list of roles, responsibilities, and how a project like this could be run. That's something VASS offers as an assessment service. So, please contact me and Jody if you need more information on this. Yeah. Last but not the least, a little QR code here. Please stay in touch with us, and I'll keep this open. And oh, did I actually shut down that screen? Okay, so let me go back in there so you can see the QR code in case you would like to take a picture of this. But this allows you to stay in touch with us. We have the series going on. We are going to be able to, have more such wonderful discussions. Thanks to SG and Brian again, and for their collaboration. The next one's on service, but we will definitely do a technology one, because SG said he can do 4 hours on just extensibility, but, we'll try and, put that in a 1 hour session. And last but not the least is CPQ. I'm sure there's interest in that as well. So I'm going to stop now. And, I know we're at the hour, but, happy to take a few questions if someone wants to stay on a couple of minutes more.
We have the Q&A open, so if anyone would like to submit questions, feel free to do that. But also that we have the emails for all of the presenters today that will be sent out afterwards. Feel free to contact anyone who's part of this call, and they would be happy to get answers to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you everyone for your time today, and look for a follow-up email from us with the presentation, the YouTube link so you can rewatch if you would like to, or forward to anyone you would want to. And have a great day.
Thank you so much.
VASS. Complex made simple.